So what are some of the, you mentioned a few case studies. What's one of your best, I suppose, results and success stories? You might have a couple. So what would, who are they? What companies are they, if you can mention them?
Sure. We've published a number of case studies over the years. A couple of my favorites. One was helping a company called Ontrack enter the electronic evidence discovery market. This was back in the early 2000s before there was electronic evidence discovery.
What's
And
electronic evidence discovery?
oh, good question. So when uh, when legal teams, when there's a lawsuit within a corporation, the legal teams go conduct discovery, which means they ask each other party for information, and that information is often stored on hard drives. And so
Emails, etc.
eh, all the above, right? So it's going to get all that information and making it usable for the legal teams. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's all about.
Okay.
Now, the on-track folks thought they had a leg up in the competition there because for years they've been in the data recovery business, which allows them to take data off failed hard drives. So
Yep.
they had great technology to take data off hard drives. So they said, well, let's just apply it to this other market. So they failed at it twice before they reached out and talked to us, and we helped them along. And the reason they failed is they they didn't recognize that they had a new customer. In the data recovery market, their customer is the IT department generally,
Mm-hmm.
and they receive hard drives from them and they take data off them and give them back to them and so on. Well, they thought that was what was happening here. You know, they'd have to go to the IT department, get data off the hard drives, which they would, and then they'd give it back to the IT department. But the IT department then had to go give that information to the legal teams, right?
Yep.
And then the legal teams had to search through it to try to find
Oh,
information, and
crazy.
they couldn't. It was not searchable, right?
No.
So what we discovered is that in order to get the job done for the legal team, they had to create a solution that would not only extract the data off the hard drive, but make it searchable, because the job to be done was to find information that would support or refute a case.
Mm-hmm.
And once they realized that that was their customer and that was their job, that changed everything. So third time was a charm. They successfully released the product to market. And what I like about this story is that they've led that space for about 15 years.
Right.
And the reason they did is that we discovered all these unmet needs that were in the market. And the first release of the product satisfied maybe half of them. But for the next 10 years, every year they would take the next most unmet needs and work to address them. It was like clockwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way I like saying this is they were on the most efficient path to growth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they were always focused on the next batch of the most unmet needs. And while their competitors were still trying to catch up on the other needs, they kept addressing the next batch of unmet needs and the
Yeah.
next batch. And to me, that was extraordinarily exciting and rewarding watching them achieve that goal.